Everybody, welcome to another edition of the Here We Go Brownies podcast. We are live at the Great Lake Collectors Convention in Independence, Ohio, at the Field House. I've needed an extra cups of coffee. There it is. Yesterday was wild. Friday was busy. Saturday was crazy. Sunday is already crazy. By the way, we were just talking about the lines already for obviously Corey over there, Corey Snyder and Buddy Bell. Wizard of Oz, we got Tim Couch, Cardell Jones, and of course Joe Hayden, and some others will be here as well. But there's over 500 vendors over there. That's insane how many people are here. Jeremy with Greeny Sports along with Greeny put the show on. How you living, my friend?
I'm running on adrenaline, caffeine, and anxiety, but less anxiety these days. Now that we are on the third day of the show, Sunday here, it's been an amazing, amazing weekend. Beyond expectations, when you set about to put these types of events together, it takes a village and a team, and there was a lot of people with a vested interest in this.
Yeah.
Hello, sir. It takes a lot of people to put this together, and in this case, the Great Lakes Collectors Convention presented by Greeny Sports Cards has been in the Independence Fieldhouse for 3 years.
Yep.
The Strongsville Sports Collectors Convention is the longest running vintage show in the country, just coincidentally out of Strongsville, Ohio.
Where you actually live.
I live, coincidentally. And it just so happened that unavoidably we realized the dates were falling on the same time this year, and fast forward, there was a collaboration, and now putting two shows in the same room, where you hope for the best. You have two teams that are used to doing a show a certain way, or you've got the vintage vendors.
We were just talking about that on our
the
show.
Modern vendors or the TCG. You just never know. And this has gone well beyond, I think, anybody's expectation. The hobby is on rocket fuel right now, regardless of what you're collecting, and it's just been. I'll be ready for a nap certainly this evening, tomorrow, but for right now, this has just been incredible.
And just so you know, we both have full-time jobs, so we'll be back at work Monday.
Yes.
So here's the thing. So we were just talking about that. I've put on events. You've put on events. Even though you have the Strongsville show and the Greeny show, you all have your own ways of how you like to run shows. Now you're taking two shows and trying to weave them together. That is not an easy thing. Well, I mean, you try to make it as seamless as possible, but you both have different ways how you want to do things. And that's just the truth of how shows are. And then you throw parking into it, and those types of things. I mean, I didn't know what this would be this year. I mean, I've been to your shows the last couple of years, been to the Strongsville show. It's in a weird location, out there, but obviously this gives you much more space, as you joked. And come on, Browns, build Brook Park so we can have a show out there.
Yeah, we're almost running out of space here too.
But the truth is, this show with the gymnasium and that, you're full in here already. And by the way, that says a lot to you guys selling the booths and getting people in here. That's a tribute to yourself and Greeny and the guys over at the Strongsville Collector Show. But this is not an easy undertaking to manage 20 athletes, manage 500 vendors, media, the public, parking.
Attendees.
I mean, there's
a lot of stakeholders,
yeah,
for sure. And you try and pay, as a producer, you try and pay attention to all those levels. You want everybody involved to have the best experience at whatever level they're involved, and whether it's somebody walking through the door with a piece of memorabilia that wants a seamless authentication process,
right,
whether it's the media engagement, whether it's the vendors moving in, moving out, the attendees coming on site. We had expectations that this would be a big show. We brought in a valet parking company. We brought in golf carts. There are 1,200 parking spaces on
Shout
this
out
campus.
to Lake Erie Golf Carts.
Lake Erie Golf Carts, golf cars, and even with 1,200 spaces on this campus, the hobby is growing so big, and there are so many people descending on this space that it's really become something remarkable. And so those are things you can address from an experiential standpoint, but I think first and foremost, what went well beyond my expectation was the collaboration, the synergy, the cooperation of the two show management teams. You hope for the best. but we have really been in sync with them and the spirit of what they're trying to do to serve the history of their event, their vendors, their constituents, and likewise on Greenie with the more of the modern cards and the TCG cards. And it's really been painless as far as the decision making. And this show, although Great Lakes has been in this building and it's been here now 4 years, this really was like a new launch because every decision had collaboration behind it, from show hours to the color of the drape to how you're going to move vendors through the spaces. And hey, Mike. So there's people everywhere. But it's really gone beyond expectations, and yeah, it's, you know, what are your thoughts? You've seen it before.
I've done a lot of events
last year. What is your thought? You walk into that room, there are 500 tables of vintage modern TCG. What was kind of your impression?
So here's what I thought was very impressive, and I think you guys, what made this, and hopefully, has it already been confirmed you guys are going to be back together next year as a collab? Do we know yet?
It's not officially confirmed.
Okay.
It's the spirit of it is yes. We'll have a conversation.
Okay, good. Because I will tell you what's interesting about this show. I'm a vintage guy, but I also like newer stuff. To walk through that room, and you know, Russell and I did this about an hour and a half ago. The fact that you can go see a Mickey Mantle and go right around the corner and see a Pokemon, or you can see the more newer cards and then the collectible stuff. I think it's a great mix. I was going to say, not to throw you into a crazy thing, but you could actually probably, I see the expanse of this show, you could even put some Comic-Con light in this show and have not only athletes come to this, but the Comic-Con type of people. And now, I mean, this thing could, I mean, you talk about rocket fuel, now we're talking jet fuel and rockets and fireworks, because there's enough of the Pokemon / Comic-Con in here that is gaining interest. I met a gal over there that does mystery boxes for the Pokemon, and that's like her whole gig is doing that, right? And then you turn around the corner and there's a Mickey Mantle, right? So to me, I like the mixture of what you guys have done with the show from a variety standpoint, because the dad can come look at the vintage cards. The son's into Pokemon. Russell's a perfect example of that. His son loves Pokemon, but he loves the more vintage, cooler, older cards, basketball. He's a big baseball guy. But I think this show has got variety, and I think that's kind of the sweet sauce,
so
the secret sauce.
Really a newer iteration and evolution within the hobby, because I'm with you. I think collectors are collectors, and we're now entering a space from where we were just even 2 years ago. These shows did not mix. The traditional vintage people had their vintage show. The Pokemon people didn't even necessarily, not that they didn't exist, but there wasn't a cohesive TCG space.
Sure.
Modern cards were over here. Comic books did their own thing. Sneakers did their own thing.
Right.
Everybody kind of had the shows that took place. They really kind of were within their own silos or collectors. But what's happening is collectors are collectors. There's more and more collaboration. Greenie was the very first in Northeast Ohio to do an all Pokemon show last year, and he was nervous at the time. Can we even fill this space?
I know, he was like, let's see.
Once 100 tables showed up and filled Broadview Heights, it was like, this is really interesting. And then, so there's the Medina show that evolved as a sport where sports and pop culture meet. But now you're really seeing that across the hobby in all markets, where there's a lot more collaboration. There is the opportunity to grow those kind of things.
Well, if you think about it, if you're in a family and you have 3 kids, one kid may love comic books, one kid may love Pokemon, one kid may like football cards. Like, I mean, you could literally have different things. I know when Dad wants to go look at the vintage stuff, because that's what he grew up on, right? Looking at the, man, I wish I would have saved my Michael Jordan card. Man, I wish I would have kept my Ken Griffey card. Right, you know what I mean? Like, and then I found this out last year, like, my Garbage Pail kids are worth money. Like, that's a whole thing.
That's right.
And I have a whole box
if you
of
have
those.
A first-run atom bomb or something,
right,
you're in good condition.
Right. So, like, that's what I love about this, where you can go over there, like seeing those vintage baseball jerseys that I saw, and just some of the cool stuff. I met a guy that he has, like, you know, we know Ray's over there, but he had all these different tickets from different, you know, games, like Joe Thomas's last game, Joe Thomas's first game, just cool stuff. And, you know, that's the one thing that I love about collectors. They're very savvy in the fact that they know their audience. Like, you go in there, and what do they have? Indian stuff, brown stuff, Cavalier stuff. And then, of course, they have their vintage stuff. Well, but they know the market, so they actually bring their stuff from their collections knowing who their audience is. So I think that's always interesting, too.
I find that fascinating, too. We Greenie and I do a Tuesday night show, 7 to 8
I've been on
p.m.
that
Eastern.
show. It's a good show.
And we've done it for 2 years now. Every Tuesday night, we put our flag in the ground. We were the first multi-stream broadcast for the hobby, and it's been great to do that every week. But my brain is cooked right now. What was the last thing you said where I was going with that?
I'm a little cooked too. What were we talking about?
There's a reason I mentioned the show because, regardless, just getting to talk about, being able to talk about the hobby and.
We're talking about the different people.
I know where I was going. So, doing that show, we are able to talk to people across the country, and different producers, different influencers, different coaches, athletes.
Get ideas.
And so one of my favorite things to do is talk about, to your point about the savvy collector of having the Guardian stuff or the Brown stuff. It is interesting if you're in Tacoma, Washington, or Atlanta, Georgia, or Texas, how they cultivate that. And we talked to a producer in Hawaii, so what are you collecting out there?
Yeah.
It is interesting based on markets and whether they have professional teams or they have minor league teams or college teams. In Alabama, it's a different.
Where there's not a pro
mindset.
team in the market, right?
Yeah, so it's been fascinating to
like
to
Omaha,
have a pulse.
Nebraska would be its own animal if you think about it, because that's their pro team, for instance.
Yeah,
they're
probably collecting baseball cards or college because the College World Series came through there.
That's
you get a different mindset. So this world, this hobby space, it is now a multi-billion-dollar juggernaut, and it affects generations. That's one of my favorite parts about this, that the grandfather walking around with the son or daughter and their kids. And it's just a really special place. We couldn't be prouder to be a part of this and its growth, and just to have sights on it.
Well, I learned a lot from the JSA guys over here yesterday. I just went over and picked their ears a little bit, just because I just wanted to learn more about the grading process. And I said, what's some of the most unique things you've had come through? And maybe you don't know what I'm about to tell you.
I don't know.
But there was a guy that has the full set, the one that was Michael Jordan's rookie card. He has but he has the full set. And they said for him, probably would make sense to pull out, because there's other Hall of Famers in that set, and get those graded, and then someone could buy the individuals or the entire set. He said that's a 6-figure set he has, because he has the full set. And he was like, and he showed me, like literally the guy was like, he goes, I don't know what this is worth. He goes, hey, let us help you. You have something very valuable in your hands here. But he goes, it's rare to have people have the full set. You know, they'll have the Michael Jordan or that, but for him to have the full set. But if he grades those Hall of Famers in there, so if they want to go a la carte, he can. Or he can be like, hey, you can have all the Hall of Famers, including Michael Jordan, and the full set. So I thought that was really cool. Just the stuff. I heard there was a very large deal that went down here yesterday. I don't know if you heard about that.
There are deals all over this floor.
But there were some huge deals. There were Babe Ruth, there were Mickey Mantles out there. It's wild to see that stuff. Yeah. There's pictures of Abraham Lincoln that we saw out there that are actually from his era. So like even I'm a political junkie. I'm like, that's cool. Cool. So back to your things. It's not just sports, right?
People collect presidentials, autographs from presidents.
Well, you know what I'm sucked in now?
Political pins.
Well, here's what I'm sucked in on now. The POTUS boxes. Have you heard about these, the POTUS? So these are collector cards that have like pieces of their literature from when they were presidents, and you can pull like a big hit like an Andrew Jackson or whoever that may be, but it's actually something from a document. They're POTUS cards. Like it's all about presidents.
Crazy.
Yeah, so
it's like a James Garfield sweater cut or something.
Well, but that's literally, you know what these are, right? The POTUS cards. But these are really cool. So, but you know what I do know? Your anxiety's getting a little high. You've been setting for more than 10 minutes.
I'm actually settling in. I feel this is a safe space. I feel good. The show is running. We're just biding our time.
But I do know that in the back of your mind is like, I have to go fix this, this, and this, and the athletes are rolling here. So I appreciate you taking the time.
I appreciate you having me and giving us some time.
And a friend of the program. But Jeremy does a great job with Greenies, and obviously Strongsville coming into the mix this year. But appreciate you coming on, and you're doing a hell of a job.
Thank you, Dustin. Thank you, Russell. I appreciate you guys and the support, and we'll just keep it rolling.
Yeah, well, you know what? I know how events are. As soon as this is over, you're planning for next year.
Right. Here we go, Brownies.
Here we go.
Welcome to the following presentation of the Hall of Fame Network.